My name is Jeffrey St Laurent. This is the live Tuesday call. Great to have a good crew on here today. We got some good questions answered around today's topic, which is creating a timeline to go full-time, the essentials. So we're going to get to that in just a second. Before we get going, I do record all my live Tuesday calls. I post them in my university, which is on my website, sellingcoaching.com. If you go there, obviously head over to the university. I got some categories there. I got a great search bar, so if you can type in some topics, so you can get a lot of great detailed education there. My goal is I help coaches transition to a full-time business, and I focus on the selling and marketing aspects. After doing this full-time myself since 2004, that's the number one skill set that I realized that has allowed me to stay in the game and stay sustainable to be able to provide for myself and my family month after month. And I think that's the biggest thing about it is, we can sell a coaching package or two here and there, but can we do it consistently month after month? And that leads us into the topic, in terms of today of creating a timeline to go full time. And that's always, a big question that people have. So check out the university on sellingcoaching.com. Also at the top of every page, I have an invitation there. There's a button to join my private Facebook group. At least consider checking it out. We've got a great group of coaches in there. And a lot of the things on that platform, it's a great avenue. I really love to use that platform to allow coaches to speak their voice. I'm really big on video. You'll see a lot of videos in there of coaches doing them. In the pinned post, I get a visibility challenge for you to create 30 videos over 91 days. Whether you do 30 or you do 1 or 2, it's just starting to speak your message, because at the end of the day, we've got to build an audience. We'll talk about that a little bit today. And we can't do that unless we're speaking our message on live events, recorded things, like a call like I'm doing here, or even on video, or even something written, social media or otherwise. So check that out. Also right on sellingcoaching.com, I have a great resource as an audio and PDF resource called The Ultimate Startup Guide for New Coaches. You'll see it right there as I get your attention to offer you my dog, my beautiful yellow lab, Cosmo. A little bit of humor in my marketing, but you can check that out as well. And then lastly, I am available for one-on-one and group mentoring if you're in that place where, you need some of that, you're frustrated, or maybe you just are getting started and you don't want to be frustrated and you want some guidance to help put together a good structure or marketing plan and just get you moving. Just go to the Work With Me tab on my website, sellingcoaching.com, and we can create a conversation and go from there. But now, I'm all fired up. Let's get going on this. So creating a timeline to go full-time. Let's start to talk some details on this, because I know when I was going through this, and as I work with and I mentor with coaches every single day, it can really seem overwhelming and daunting, and there's so much marketing out there, and there's a lot of great stuff out there, and there's a lot of just like stuff, if you will, that's more very markety in terms of, the quick fixes types of things and earning large income fast, etc. And of course, while people have done it and can do it, the reality is I wouldn't expect quick anything. Nothing's really ever quick in life, for that matter, except for life itself, right? So the point is having the patience. And so my hope today, as I give you some information, and this is rooted in experience with not only myself, but also what I've seen with my clients over time, and also with a lot of mentors that I've worked with, and understanding business in general through my mentoring and experience. So my hope is to give you to kind of educate your expectations. I think that's the biggest thing, is that if we have certain expectations that are coming from either external expectations, coming from what we see maybe potentially with other people, what other people are doing or not doing, what we perceive, this is a big thing, what we perceive other people to be doing, right? So we see someone who's, oh my God, I just started my Facebook group and they started theirs, and look at how big theirs is compared to mine, or take a look at this and wow, they've got this beautiful website, or they've got this, they appear they're doing well, but appearances don't mean anything. Just because someone spends money on a nice, pretty, shiny website doesn't mean that they're doing well. So we've got to root ourselves in solid expectations. So let's start giving you some more details on this. And so when I start working with my clients and I start, building a framework, helping them figure out, who they're going after, etc., I always like to start people off, and I want you to start to think about this from a time frame. No matter where you are right now, if you're starting basically from scratch, meaning when I say from scratch, it means you don't really have an audience. And when we say, or at least I say, when I think about building your business or growing your business, what that means to me, and I want to impart this knowledge on you, is not money. Yes, if we don't get paid, we don't have a business, right? And we can't provide for ourselves. But it's not, growing my business doesn't mean I'm creating more income necessarily. Here's what I think it means. It means I'm growing my audience. And it's not necessarily by numbers, meaning, oh, I've got 5 more people on my email list today, or in my private Facebook group, as an example. All right, yeah, numbers are okay, but what's bigger than that is I have more people that are engaged in my audience, meaning I like to call them raving fans, right? They're fans, they're students of mine. Maybe they show up on calls, maybe they're participating in my private Facebook group, maybe they'll respond to an email that I do, like, hey, love your emails, or they'll respond to a little story that I wrote in an email, things like that. They'll participate in maybe a visibility challenge. I get to interact with them. Those are students, those are raving fans. And not everybody is vocal and in front, but you can see even when people join my private Facebook group and I start a conversation with them via Messenger, just welcoming them to the group and, hey, what's going on? And, they participate back, right? That's what I'm looking for. To me, that's growing my business. So if I can get more people that are engaged and that are raving fans, in other words, people that are paying attention to what I'm doing because my information is relevant and it's timely for them and it's specific for them, that's my idea of growing my business. Because I know that as I grow that audience and I grow that engagement, then it's only a matter of time before each one of those people at some point, they have a need, because obviously I'm doing what I'm doing and they're there for a specific reason, like I help coaches transition to a full-time business, right? So we're going to translate this to you, right? I want you to think about this for yourself, right? People are joining your audience because you're specific on what you're saying you're doing and what you're helping them with. So it's only a matter of time through that engagement that when the timing is right, meaning this is how people buy, this is the selling aspect, 2 major things, need and timing, right? So they've got a need just by them joining your list or opting into your free offer because of a specific reason, or joining your private Facebook group, right? It says they have a need because you're helping people do something specific. But then we're looking for when is the timing right for them to do something about it. And that's when ideally they take advantage of your products and or your services, like coaching and or whatever maybe products that you have any at the time. Right? So that's the idea of how we grow our business. So I'm not focusing on, I want to make more money, Yes, I have revenue goals. Yes, I pay attention to that each and every day, depends on where I'm at throughout the month. But with that being said, though, what's more important to me is my audience. So I want you to think about this from a timeline perspective. The first 18 to 24 months, and again, you don't have to like what I'm going to say. You can disagree with it. I'm not claiming to be right. I'm just saying this is from experience, my advice and my thoughts for you. And if you like what I'm saying, hopefully it can start to get you into a groove of setting your timeline up to go full time. Is in your first 18 to 24 months, so 18 months to 2 years, what I want you to focus on is building your audience. To me, that's growing your business. It doesn't mean it's going to take you 18 to 24 months to get paid, to make a dime, right? It just means that at first 18 to 24 months, I really want you to focus on speaking your message as close to every day as possible. How's that? Ideally, you're speaking it every day somehow, through your emails to your audience, through, let's say, a social media platform, call it Facebook, like a group that you start or something like that. So however you're doing it, you're getting your message out there. You're doing a live event, like maybe my Tuesday call, maybe it's a Facebook Live, at least a weekly live event, something like that, which is not only creating valuable educational content, like with these, I record all of these, I put them on a university as an example, right? So you're building some valuable content that people can come and consume your information, which builds value for what you do and what you offer, right? But then also you're doing that from a marketing perspective. So we're marketing each and every day, and I call marketing, I consider it education-based marketing, meaning we're educating our audience and we've identified them well enough to know where they are. And so each and every day I'm building my audience, I'm attracting them to with what I'm doing and what I'm offering, with some valuable education, and because of that, they opt into my free offer, they join, let's say, a private Facebook group, and then the other part of that is engaging with those people. So the first 18 to 24 months, build that audience. And I'll say this, after the 24 months is up, if you will, it doesn't mean we stop building our audience. We never stop building our audience. That's the name of the game. I said, you grow your business, that means you're always building your audience. But I want you to think about in the first 18, 24 months, that's your major focus. And with that focus is what that's going to do is, in order to do that, you've got to speak your message. It's going to hone your message. A lot of coaches are coming into the game, and at least this is what I find, is a lot of them are kind of unsure about what people might call their niche. I like to call it their headline. It's who you help with what specifically. You heard me mention there and allude to that through some of the conversation I've already spoken about. Helping who with what specifically. This is, people call it your ideal client, right? And it's who you're going after. And I did a call on this actually, I think it was last week on its, decide, how and why to define your niche. And so you can check that one out as well on Selling Coaching University. I believe it's called 78. But with that being said, there's a lot of value in that. Whether you have one or not, it's ideal to get there. But as you start to, or the more you start to narrow that down and you know who you're going after and what you help them with specifically, that's going to make a more valuable proposition in the sense that when I say, hey, I help coaches transition to full-time, well, it allows someone to know right away, like, is this for me or not? And if it's not for you, they carry on. But if it is for you, then it's like, you've got their attention for a little bit, and now they're willing to, maybe you just bought a little bit more time, right? You just bought 30 seconds or another minute at the most, where maybe they'll watch a video or check something else out. And if it's interesting enough, maybe they buy a little bit more time, and next thing you know, they're subscribing or they're joining or they're watching, listening, or reading, right? So that's the idea of getting specific with that. So that's going to help you with your business. However, especially if you're not there yet, or you're kind of undecided, or you're still in that gray, vague, general area, and that's all you hear, and you're getting sick of hearing people say, yes, define your niche, and who's your ideal client? And it's like, oh, you want to murder someone because you don't know yet. Well, okay, so start speaking your message. That's why I do something, like I said earlier in my private Facebook group, about the visibility challenge. It's a great avenue to just start telling stories and start speaking. And where do your topics resonate around? So especially if you're not there yet, you're not gonna. How about this? It's going to be a lot more challenging to build an audience, especially if you don't have like who that audience is supposed to be and why are they there. Because it's like you. Why would you go to an event on a weekend? Let's say there's a live event somewhere, and if you really weren't clear about who this event was for and what you're going to do there or why you'd be going there, would you go to the event? Like, well, no, because you know what I mean? So it wouldn't attract very many people, all right? So it's same thing with you. It's like you're holding this live event, not like necessarily a weekly live event, like my Tuesday calls, for example, but it's like you're holding this event and it's just like your business. And it's like, well, if you're kind of vague on who you're helping, or it's just a very broad general, like I'm just helping people live their best life ever, there's really, yeah, we all want to live our best life ever, but there's no real compelling reason for them to join that. And there's also so much out there that competes with that. What makes you different? And maybe it's the way you talk, maybe it's your message itself. Maybe you're distinguishing enough to separate yourself in a very saturated market of just personal development and self-help, if you will. But with that being said, is really try and narrow that down. But if you don't do it, start speaking that message. And what I'm saying here is in that first 18 to 24 months, as you start to speak that and build that audience, I want you to monetize. What I mean, obviously make money from that. But what I would recommend is unless you're working towards a very specific model, what I recommend is if you want to do coaching, especially one-on-one coaching, I would recommend that you stick with that one-on-one coaching model. Meaning you might want to do products, you might want to do courses, you might want to do a whole bunch of things, but I would recommend you sticking with one-on-one coaching in that first 18 to 24 months. You're saying, well, Jeff, you wouldn't want me to write a book, or you wouldn't want me to, do a 6-week course, or an downloadable something, you know what I mean? And how about this? I'm not saying no, but to be specific is focus on one-on-one coaching, and I'll tell you why. As you build the audience and you engage with your audience, and you engage with your audience by one-on-one conversations. Yes, you can have an autoresponder to when people opt into your list, right? That says, hey, welcome to I'm glad here's my downloadable version, right? Here's the ultimate startup guide for new coaches, or whatever your free offer is from your website, etc. Right? But from there, I wouldn't recommend putting them on a 52-week autoresponder that just automatically sends them emails. What I recommend was what I do on my second email is, hey, once I give them the download, the next email that comes up the next day is, hey, curious your motivation for wanting this. I want to create a conversation with them. I want to get to know them a little bit. I just don't want them to be just on my email list. I want them to interact with me. So this interaction is going to come from one-on-one conversations. You heard me say before, when people join my private Facebook group, I make it a point to reach out to everybody, and it takes a while, and sometimes I get behind on it because I can only handle so much, but I at least like to reach out and send a welcome message by messenger and say, hey, how you doing? Thanks for coming in. How'd you find me? What was your motivation for joining in? And not everyone responds, but the people that do, I just like to ask them a few questions and see where it goes. Maybe it leads to new business. Maybe it leads to just creating a great conversation and creating a raving fan, or someone that says, wow, you know what? This guy Jeff's great. I like being in his group, or he took the time. That makes the difference, right? So first 18, 24 months, I want you doing that and engaging with those people. And it's from those conversations where we can create those clients. And it's from those conversations that I want to teach you of how do we turn those simple conversations into a paying client. And as we start to understand a person's needs and why they're there and what they're looking for and what they're challenged with, and then we start to find out how important it is for them to move forward with something like this. And have they ever considered working with a coach or a mentor like myself? Is that something that they'd be interested in taking a look at? Why is the timing right now for them to be doing something like that? That can lead towards your one-on-one coaching. And going back to me saying, well, why do you say, Jeff, why do you say in the first 18, 24 months focus on just the one-on-one coaching? Is because I want you to understand that, I'll call it that sales conversation. I don't view it as a, quote, sales conversation. I view it as a relationship, getting to know, connecting conversation. But when I say it now specifically the sales conversation, because at some point in the conversation, when and if you identify a need that they have and that they're really looking to do something about it, and you can help them, if you're ever going to get business, this is the point where it transitions more to, if you will, a sales conversation, where it would be imperative, almost obligatory. I say it like that, like it's almost like our duty to create an approach. Approach meaning asking them, hey, I'm curious, based on you saying X, Y, and Z and what you're going after, I can't help but ask, would you consider working with me as your mentor coach? It's clear that you want to, create a full-time business and, so forth and so on, and go from there. Like, that's an approach, right? And if we don't learn how to do that, in my experience, it's going to be very hard to create a sustainable full-time income, especially because your audience is going to be small in the beginning. And even after a couple of years, I'm not even going to give you numbers. You could be in the multiple thousands. You could still be in the hundreds after a few years, right? And there's I don't care what everyone tells you, there's zero, prediction of where it could be. Like, you just got to go on your journey step by step, day by day, and okay, great. I got another couple people on my email list, another couple people that I've interacted with, another couple of people the next day, and you build it literally one at a time. And that's that expectation I want you to have. Is there's a lot of marketers touting like, oh, grow your list to 5,000 people in 60 days or whatever. And you know what? You could do some joint ventures and you can have some things like that or some events, and maybe that works out for you. But again, like I said, it's not about the numbers. You can have 10,000 people, 100,000, a million people on your list. But if they're not engaged, then it's useless. It's absolutely useless. And I've worked with people that I've had 500,000, million people on their list, mentored with people that I've had 10 times that. And I've heard different stories. And the point is it's not about the numbers to a certain point, with that being said. But so I want you to be understanding how to, if you will, convert these conversations into paying clients. And that's why in that first 18, 24 months, if you can begin to master that, or rather said, when you can begin to master that sales conversation and you become comfortable with it, you become comfortable asking for the money, you become comfortable and understand that when you're giving a complimentary session, it's because you understand and the potential client understands that they're coming there because they have a need and the timing's right and they're considering hiring you. You're not just giving away discovery calls left and right, but people signing up online and then bagging you or no-showing you or just giving you silly objections like I don't have the money or I need to think about it at the end and then just dropping off the face of the earth because you're not taking the time to qualify them. So I want you to understand that process, because now what will happen is you're going to feel comfortable at the end of the call. You're going to feel comfortable, and you're going to see these people come to these complimentary sessions that are qualified and are eager to work with you. You're going to see that happening, and then your statistics, if you will, are going to become better, meaning you're going to have more people showing up for your complimentary sessions. You're going to have more people hiring you on your complimentary sessions, till you get to the point where you never have anyone not show up for a complimentary session, and then you pretty much always have someone hire you, meaning 9 out of 10 or even 10 out of 10 will hire you on a complimentary session, because you're not doing volume, but you're doing quality because you're qualifying, and you feel comfortable in that process. And when you get to that space, here's the value in this. And listen to this, because I'll tell you, this is, until you experience it, what I'm about to say, it can be somewhat logical, but I want you to remember this, is because entrepreneurship can be very scary, because you're relying on nothing and nobody but yourself to create income, right? You're relying on your own skills, your own wherewithal, your own discipline, your own creativity, your own you fill in the blank, and not just in a given day, but day in and day out, consistently over many years. That's something big that I just said right there. And when you rely on that, all of your shit, if you will, comes out, right? All of the crap, all of the insecurities and just I'm not good enough, and if you have any of that in you, it's gonna come out, right? I don't care who you are, it's gonna come out, and you're gonna be questioning things, and you're gonna be doubting things, and it's gonna be very easy to quit. And there's no one there to say, don't quit, keep going. And in fact, there might be people in your life that will say, quit, this is not working for you. Look at what you've been doing. And are you going to buy something else? Are you going to hire someone else? You're going to spend more money on your website and you haven't even made any money yet, right? There's going to be a lot of those naysayers. It's going to be really hard. So now let me back up and say, when you get to the point where you can create conversations like I was talking about, and you can identify needs, and that can more effortlessly transition into you creating more approaches on a daily, weekly basis, where you're asking people if they'd consider working with you based upon something that has come up in that conversation. And it can lead to either something favorable where they're like, well, yeah, I would consider it. Tell me more about that. And you create a conversation which may or may not lead to a comp session and a client, but you're having more and more of those on a weekly basis. And you can also do that where once you ask that question, you're not doing it too early, too late, or too aggressively or whatever, that you're turning people off and you're feeling like pushy and aggressive and just all about the sale. And when you have that art, I call that the art of selling. That's the skill set. It's an art. And you get a feel for that. And when you do it, whether people move forward or not, they're still your friends, so to speak, meaning you weren't too aggressive or pushy, so they're not just like turned off and then drop off the face of the earth. Meaning they respect you and they value you, and you have a closer relationship as a result of it. And then maybe there's a follow-up on it that comes down the road, maybe when the timing is right for them, if it wasn't when you created that approach. But when you can do that, now you'll have the confidence that will allow you to sleep at night. This is really important, because in the world of entrepreneurship, and especially what we do with our business, is, well, where's your next client coming from? Guess what? You don't know. You can't know that. I don't know who or where or when my next client will show up. I can't predict that. No one can predict that. All I can do is two things. One, I have to be consistent and have faith in my marketing system, meaning I've done it enough and I do it consistently that I know that if I keep doing it, another lead's gonna come in through my website or through one of these calls, and we message afterwards, or however, through my Facebook Messenger, through my email list, through my Facebook ads. So all my marketing efforts that I'm doing, I can only have faith that another one's gonna come in. Well, how frequently, right? Because it would be nice to know that. Well, this is where this is gonna help you with your timeline, is after you start to do it enough, and this is why that 18 to 24 months, what we wanna do is we wanna start to develop our statistics. Right? All businesses and things like that, they track their numbers. I'll just call them statistics. KPIs, key performance indicators. These are key numbers in your business that you need to understand and track, right? So in other words, as an example, one of my mentoring clients, I was doing a meetup with her, and this is someone I started doing a meetup with a couple of years ago. And over the course of the first year, I said, you need to track how many people are reserving, saying, hey, I want to come to your meetup. And then how many people are showing up. All right, we need to know the percentage of people that sign up versus show up. On average, I've been finding that 50% of the people that sign up show up. So 10 people sign up, on average 5 are showing up. So I'm like, that's going to help you plan what's happening, right? So now you're not going to be expecting, if 50 people register, you're not expecting 50 people because it's not a reality. Reality is about 25 or so are going to show up, right? So that's setting expectations right now. Let's just say if 10 people register and 5 show up, of the 5 that show up, how many are new and how many are repeats, right? Because are you just getting the same people every time? Not necessarily a bad thing, but I'd rather have new people every time and less repeats, because I can follow up with the repeats and create a relationship from there and maybe create an approach that they could become a client. But I want to get in front of new people every time I do that. So how many are new? How many are repeats? And then from there, how many turn into, how many approaches do you create from that? Like how many people do you create an approach that leads to a complimentary session? And then how many people actually hire you as a result of that? So those are some simple statistics that are very easy to track. So then over the course of time, what we did was saying, okay, now here we are a year later, you're consistently getting 12 to 15 people. 2 to 3 are repeats, and let's say about 10 or so are brand new people. And from that, you're getting about 2 to 3 complimentary sessions, and one of those people are hiring you. Which, since you're doing twice a month, you're getting about 2 new clients a month, right? And over time, how consistent are these statistics, right? So then you start to have faith, like I said, going back to the 2 things that allow you to sleep at night, right? And I said one of them was having faith in your marketing system, meaning you've developed the numbers over time. So now you begin to say like, oh, I can't predict when or who or how I'm going to get my next client. But if I'm doing something consistently enough, I can, with enough faith, say that if in this model I just kind of laid out for you, the next meetup I'm going to have about 12 to 15 people. I'm going to get about 2 to 3 comp sessions out of it that I've qualified. And let's say maybe one person's going to hire me. Maybe the numbers are better than that. But so if I'm charging, let's say $1,500 a month for a coaching package, I can say on average, I'm going to create about $3,000 a month in new coaching revenue. And then I can start to understand my existing clients in terms of, well, out of 10 clients that I've had, how many people renewed with me? How many people bought another package after the first one? Let's say there's 3 out of 10, right? So you can somewhat gauge when your clients are ending. So you see how you can start to somewhat predict what's going to come next in terms of income and things like that. So that's one of the things that can help you rest at night on your statistics. But the other thing that I was going for is that's going to allow you to sleep at night is having faith in yourself and your ability to sell and your ability to create these conversations and know that as long as I can get new people in the door and get exposure and conversations with new people, I have faith that as long as I'm consistent in creating these conversations, that it's going to lead to more approaches and it's going to lead towards new clients. And your ability and that skill set. And when you can have faith in that, now what happens is, and the reason I say that one-on-one coaching is your primary, and if not your only thing that you sell, is because you stay focused on that and learning what I just talked to you, learning where your audience is, how to market to them, how to speak to them, what attracts them, what they're looking for, creating the conversations, and then being able to convert those to clients. And additionally, when you're selling a coaching package, it's more of a premium product. So maybe it's $1,500, maybe it's $15,000, maybe it's $2,500, whatever you're selling with that. The great part is when you get 1 or 2 clients, it now cuts into your monthly requirements expense-wise of what you're responsible for a lot more than if you're selling a $150 product or you name it, an ebook, or someone bought my book that I published the other day, and it's great, someone bought my book, but at the end of the day it's $18 and I got to pay $6-7 to ship it. You know what I mean? So it's great, it's cool, and who knows what it'll lead to, but $20 isn't paying my mortgage. You know what I mean? So it's little revenues that can go on top of that. But the point is that even if you had products, lower priced products, you don't have anyone to sell them to. That's why I'm saying the first 18 to 24 months, really focus on everything that I just shared there. And now you're going to not only, after 2 years, right? at that point, whether you're able to quit your job or not, how much income you're creating, etc., wherever you're at, ideally, at that point, you definitely should have been creating some income. And as long as you've been consistent over the 18 to 24 months, and I'll say this as a caveat to the whole thing, is 18 to 24 months consistently. Meaning, if you started doing 2 or 3 months, then all of a sudden, whatever, you took the summer off, or you really stopped working for a month because whatever, you moved and blah, blah, blah. I'm not excusing if some things in life happen and they really take you out of the game. But whatever it is, it's 18, 24 months of like serious, consistent growth week in, week out. And that's what I mean 18, 24 months. It's not like, hey, I know plenty of people that have been doing it for 3 or 4 years, but they really haven't been consistent at all during that 3 or 4 years. And they'll admit it, but that's not, well, I've already done my 18 to 24 months. No, it's 18 to 24 months of like day in and day out, weekly events and doing this on a consistent basis. But now you've got an audience. Who cares how big? Who cares what the number is? I don't care how many people you have on your email list. You've got people on your email list. You've got your systems in place. You know what your message is. You know who you're going after. You know what you're helping them with. You're consistent in engaging with your marketing system. You have faith in it, or now you've tweaked whatever you need to tweak in order to get it to the place where it's consistent every week, so it can be just day in and day out. You know exactly what you're doing. I want your business to be like a job, meaning you show up at a certain time, you stop at a certain time, you go in and you know what tasks are required of you each and every day outside of your clients. Right? It's routine. You need to have a routine, otherwise you don't have a business. Right? It's not just, oh, well, it's a nice day, so I'm gonna take the day off. It's like, it can happen. You need to have the discipline to know that, well, yeah, but there's stuff to do. And so it's a business. And with that being said, now you're able to understand your audience. And at that point, that's when you can start looking into different products, different things like that. Different courses. I've had some of my clients, they started doing, 6-week courses and stuff like that, somewhat close out of the gate. But some people already start off with an audience, or they have an engaged audience already, or they might have some people that they can engage right away, and they can start getting into those classes, and they've got enough people where they can start getting in 5-6 people, and that's a great way to go as well. But the main reasons with that timeline is I wanted to show you the value of what we want to do in that 18 to 24 months, and then why I recommend you doing that. And it's mostly so you start to understand that, and that builds the foundation. So now what happens is when it comes time to especially assuming you have a job and you want to quit your job, the value of all that now is now you've got some statistics. Now you can start to have some faith in this. Now you can start to look at, and I wouldn't say looking at it this time, but a financial plan. I look at a financial plan early on, like even with my clients when I work with them mentoring, that's one of the first things we discuss even before they hire me. It's like, hey, how well do you know your expenses? How well do you know the minimum dollar amount that you owe every single month to pay for whatever you have to pay for? Is it $10,000? Is it $1,000? Is it whatever? How well do you know that number? What do you have for a financial buffer? What do you have saved? What do you have for this transition? Because we need to start understanding that. And if you don't have anything there, well, what does it look like? Right? There's going to be some investments in your business. I'd say that your biggest expense is always going to be mentoring and help. Right? It's whether it's a mentoring or coaching, or it's hiring someone to help you with something or a website. I mean, those are your biggest expenses. The other expenses in our business, like the essentials, it's like, yeah, we want to have a way to process credit cards online. So at the end of the call, I can take your credit card over the phone and run your card, and now I have a client because I'm paid. Or I can set up recurring payments. I've got to have something like an AWeber, like a client relationship management system, where I can have an opt-in box on my website, and when they sign up and submit, it can go to my email list, and I can send emails from there on a weekly basis, right? Those are like two of the most essential things that we need to have. Heck, you don't even have money for a website? Don't spend $1,000 a website? Great. Start off with a Facebook page or a social media page, right? That could be your website. You can go to leadpages.net. It's basically like a landing page. It's like a place where you can build templates, landing pages. Use that, and even if you don't prepay and you paid it monthly, I think it's $40 a month. Or something like that. But you know what? That could be, it's hosting, and you build a web page right on that, and you can have it up today. And you don't have to spend $1,000 or whatever on a website, right? I mean, so there's ways of doing that. So our overheads aren't that great, but we can get started, especially in the age of the internet, for very little. We can start building our audience on a platform like meetup.com or even any social media platform, or
any local places where you're hosting events, and we don't have to be paying $300 for a hotel room, right? We can be going to a Starbucks, or when my clients do meetups, I'm like, hey, go to Barnes & Noble, or go to, you know what I mean? Go to a Starbucks, go to a Panera Bread. And you're probably going to have at best a handful of people their first time anyways. And just sit down and create a conversation, and that could be your first client, right? And so start learning that process. And that's where that timeline comes in, and then you develop your statistics over that time. But all the while, keep an eye on that financial plan, so making sure that, what type of buffer do you need financially? What funds do you have access to? And I'm not going to be your financial advisor, whether it's save or borrowed. I mean, before I had a big cash reserve, right? Before I started making more money, I started building a cash reserve. I had a business line of credit of $25,000 that anytime I was short each month or whatever like that, and the mortgage was coming in, and I hadn't gotten paid yet, I had to write a check to myself to cover that. And over the course of 8 years or whatever it was, I probably drew $750,000 on that thing and paid it back. But there's sometimes money doesn't come in when the bills do. So whether it's a line of credit on something, equity line of credit, a business line of credit, and yeah, you might have to pay interest on it. I'm not going to, people might, oh, don't do that because you have to pay interest and stuff like that. But you know what? You got to do what you got to do to create enough security in yourself so that you have a buffer, so you're not going to freak out. Obviously, you got to make a plan to pay that stuff back. But the point is you've got to know how you're going to create that, and that's part of it initially. But then as you start to unfold and have your statistics, then you're going to start to know more and more, like, okay, what can I expect for income, and in what time frames, and then what's required of me financially, and then, okay, what's the difference between there and maybe what I'm earning with my job, and now you're going to time that as you get closer, and there's going to be a point where, yeah, you might not be at a place where your income from coaching is matching or exceeding your job, depending on what you're earning. So you're going to have to figure out, okay, when can I go part-time, when can I go full-time, and go from there.